Welcome back to Lunch Break for Nurses. Let's talk about things you don't get to discuss at work: bullying, unvaccinated patients, salaries, politics, your money. These are the things you would talk about at lunch if you ever got to take a lunch break. Podcast number 5: From Ratchet to Romance: The Evolution of the Lesbian Nurse. On point today, the lesbian nurse. Villain, naughty, or human? When you think of a nurse on TV, what do you see? Maybe it's the angel of mercy. Maybe it's the overworked background character handing a scalpel to the hero doctor. Or maybe it's a Halloween costume. Nursing is one of the most trusted professions in the world, but in Hollywood, it's a minefield of metaphors. And when you add queer identity into the mix, things get complicated fast. For decades, the lesbian nurse wasn't just a character, she was a warning. She was either the predatory villain, the man-hating matron, or a fetish object for the male gaze. But recently, that pulse has started to change. Today, we're doing a checkup on the history of nurses portrayed as lesbians in film and TV. From the villains we feared to the caregivers we love, let's break down the evolution of the queer nurse. The villain and the man-hater. To understand where we are, we have to look at the archetype that started it all, the battle axe. In the mid-20th century, if a female character had authority, wasn't interested in men, and wasn't warm, Hollywood code dictated she must be a villain. Enter Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, in the original movie, Ratched isn't explicitly a lesbian, but she is heavily queer-coded. She represents the anti-mother. She strips men of their masculinity. In the visual language of the 70s, a woman who didn't submit to men wasn't just a feminist, she was deviant. This trope hurt actual nurses and queer women. It suggested that a woman in a medical uniform who wasn't there to marry the doctor was likely a sociopath. It wasn't until 2020 that Ryan Murphy's series Ratched made the subtext actual text. Sarah Paulson's portrayal gave the character a female love interest. While it was great to see a queer lead, it creates a complex problem. It ties her lesbianism to her trauma and her villainy. It's the old psycho-lesbian trope, just dressed up in a perfectly tailored 1940s nurse's uniform. The male gaze and the naughty nurse. If they weren't villains, they were often objects. We have to talk about the naughty nurse. This is where the portrayal of lesbian nurses often falls into the trap of the male gaze. In the 90s and early 2000s, especially in shows like Nip, Tuck, a nurse hooking up with another woman, wasn't usually about exploring complex human relationships. It was for the titillation of the straight male audience. This is the ratings ploy. A female nurse might have a one-night stand with a female patient or doctor, but never a sustained relationship. It reinforced the idea that nursing a job involving bodies and intimacy was inherently sexual rather than clinical. This era treated queer nurses as disposable. They were there to spice up an episode, not to save lives or build a family. The human shift. But then something shifted. Writers started remembering that nurses are, well, people. The gold standard for this shift might actually be a show about nuns and midwives in the 1960s. I'm talking about Call the Midwife. The relationship between Nurse Patsy Mount and Delia Busby is revolutionary because it is boring. And I mean that as a compliment. They deal with the historical trauma of having to hide their love in the 60s, yes. But their identity as nurses enhances their relationship. They care for each other with professional tenderness. They are shown as competent, exhausted, hardworking women who just happen to love each other. We also see this in newer medical dramas where nurses aren't just background extras. We are seeing characters whose queerness is just one part of their resume, right next to knows how to insert a catheter. Shows like Hospital Central featured a lesbian romance between a female doctor and a female nurse, who were central characters and paved the way for more nuanced portrayals of nursing staff who have lives outside the hospital walls. So, why does this matter? Nurses make up the vast majority of the healthcare workforce. When media portrays lesbian nurses as either man-hating matrons or sexual fantasies, It devalues the profession and the people in it. Moving from the villainous Ratchet to the humanized partners in Call the Midwife mirrors the slow march of LGBTQ+ acceptance in society. We've gone from being the scary monster in the ward to the person holding your hand when you wake up. One final thought. Could the most famous nurse of all time be a lesbian? Florence Nightingale never married and rejected multiple marriage proposals from men. She wrote about her discomfort with the idea of domestic life with a husband and preferred to prioritize her calling to nursing instead. Her closest emotional attachments were with women, and some of her private writings include passionate language about female relationships. No one quite knows how many nurses identify as lesbian or bi, but we know we are by your side when you need us. You've been listening to Lunch Break, a Nurse at Work production. We have a day job, so please drop a like on this video for encouragement, and please hit subscribe. Please share your comments. We will respond as best we can. We care about you.